Today I fucked up by having drunk sex with my girlfriend's twin sister. Obligatory, this didn't actually happen today, it was October 2017. Also, just to be clear, this was consensual on both sides. Okay, so a bit of backstory. In late 2017 I started my first year at university, met my girlfriend Amy and had a lot of fun with her. Cool girl all around and I was very attracted to her, things were great. Then she introduced me to her sister Liv. It was Friday night in October and her sister and a few of her friends were visiting her from her uni up north. I met her and was a bit taken aback because she looked identical to Amy in every way. I've met plenty of identical twins in my life, but these two were honestly one-to-one identical. Liv seemed cool, a bit shy towards me but cool. After a bit of getting to know each other we all decided to head to a pub. We did, and when we go there drinking ensued. A lot of drinking. This went on for a few hours and from what I remember it was all fun. Then at some point during the night Amy decides it's time to go home and she's feeling frisky. I of course took my leave immediately and we went back to my room. I don't remember the sex beyond we had sex in all honesty, but I think it was quite bad. Anyway, next morning I wake up, say hi to Amy and get myself some water. Amy gets up and we get to talking. Almost immediately I realize this isn't Amy, it's Liv and I just cheated on my girlfriend. A lot of drama kicked off after that, but short version is this: Amy and I broke up. She didn't blame me, but it was too much for her and that's fine. We drifted a bit but eventually reconnected, became friends, had a few drunken hookups and now we're back together again and things are good. As for Liv, Amy isn't angry at her anymore. I think there will always be some trust issues there now, but I think that's natural honestly. I don't really talk to Liv much for obvious reasons, though I'm sure I'll see her again. I'll make sure I'm sober when I do. Too long didn't read. Met girlfriend's identical twin sister, got drunk and she came on to me. I went home with her assuming she was my girlfriend and slept with her. Girlfriend finds out and leaves me. Later on we get back together. I'm not sure it qualifies as consensual on your part if she knew that you thought she was her sister. I read a news article a while back about a guy who was arrested after pulling that stunt on his twin brother's girlfriend. Bro, just have to say, that wasn't consensual, like, at all. Despite you may think or what other people may have told you. Don't get me wrong, it sounds like you are able to move on from it and everything, which for you is good. But don't dismiss it for what that was. Holy shit. Honestly, from the most basic standpoint I completely understand your excuse in this situation, but I really would like to know what hers is. Lol. Edit, just to clarify, my first statement was solely based on the fact that you said it was consensual on both sides, but I'm sorry if what you say is true and you had no idea it was Liv and not Amy. It's not consensual. He consented to having sex with Amy, not Liv, so yay, you are right. It was consensual but with the wrong person, or something like that. Sounds like Liv tricked you into sex and that's creepy. Your girlfriend never stopped you at the pub and asked why you were leaving with her sister? What? They were also wearing identical clothes and makeup that night? Didn't you realize your girlfriend was wearing different clothes? Didn't your girlfriend wonder where you and her sister went? We were drunk. I never noticed clothing at the best of times. She said she assumed I went home. Today I fucked up by gifting away a 23andMe kit. This actually happened a couple weeks ago, but the results just came in yesterday. It's also a pretty wild story, so I'm not sure how many of you will believe it, but I know I'm still in shock, which is why I took a whole day to write it. Anyway, for Christmas, I got a 23andMe kit as a gift. I had one of those tests before, so I honestly had no use for it. However, one of my good friends had always wanted to try it, so I just gave it away to him since I owed him a favor. He also decided to buy one for his girlfriend as a present, so they would match. As you can see where this is going, this is where the FU happens, but I also need to provide some background. So long story short, my friend was adopted, and never sought out his biological parents, while his girlfriend was conceived from a sperm donor. Results came in yesterday and turns out they are half-siblings. What makes this even worse is that the girlfriend is pregnant. She is too far along to even consider an abortion, due in a few days. My friend is in major shock and is honestly inconsolable. I don't even know what to do. Feel like the worst person on this entire planet and cannot even begin to imagine the horror they must be feeling. TL, doctor gave away a 23andMe kit which effectively destroyed new family by revealing they were related. Taking this post at face value as real, unless they both have some genetic problem, then there are unlikely to be any significant impacts, except for psychologically. This kind of situation isn't so rare really. There have even been instances of full siblings marrying before they realized the familial relationship. And of course it used to happen all the time within aristocracy, by intent, in many countries. Usually it would take more than one generation for genetic issues to appear in offspring. It is possible for him to have some genetic problem and her to be only a carrier, typically only for sex-linked genetic diseases, and the genes are expressed in the baby. If it's a boy, a girl baby would likely only be another genetic carrier, but that is a low probability. They can always have gene testing performed on the baby if they are worried. It's probably a good idea for them to talk to a genetic counselor about this. Nevertheless, so often, you can get super unlucky. I know a couple that are more closely related than is the norm, and they did extensive genetic testing before deciding to go forward with their relationship. Turns out they both carried a gene for a condition so rare that geneticists don't test for it normally, which they only found out when their child manifested the condition. Granted, this can happen even if you aren't related, but the odds are higher if you are. There's a post on the 23andMe sub about a young woman who shared way too much with her maternal grandma. Turns out her grandma was also her paternal grandma, who as an unwed young woman put her infant son up for adoption. That infant son was raised without the knowledge he was adopted and also had his b-date changed during the adoption process. The poster was one of many and none of her siblings had any obvious health problems. On average, a child in such a situation would only have about 6% of their DNA duplicated. Treating this as real, you didn't FU. They would have been related even if they hadn't known it. Baby would still have been inbred. Also, they can now avoid having more children together. If I were in that position, I would just pray that the child turns out without any genetic defect. Then I would get my GF's tube tied. To avoid any accidents. Incest is wrong only because of the genetic issues it causes. And here it was an honest mistake because they didn't know beforehand. No reason for the child to grow up without one of its parents. No reason to break up. Anyone out there claiming that incest is wrong because of reasons other than genetic defect that they cause, may you please share that reason? I am honestly curious as I can't think of any in this case. Those commenting that it's gross. How is it gross? It's not like the couple here grew up together as siblings and knowingly committed the act. Edit, I am taking about the situation here. Today I fucked up stuttered when talking to my crush and got the wrong meaning across. Obligatory, this didn't happen today, although it did happen yesterday. I just was too busy to compile a post until now. Some context. I'm a secondary 3 grade 9 I believe Asian student, and the girl in context is a really cute girl who has a freaking heart of gold, bestest friend I've ever made. I don't know when, but I started realizing I had a liking for her as we became closer friends, realizing we shared many traits and she was one of the few friends I know who truly cares for me. Not sharing any more info in case she does use Reddit, although highly uncertain. I'm a guy who doesn't like to confess my feelings until I'm 90% certain the other partner likes me back. So, it was a day after school when we decided to meet up at the library, just the two of us, to study together like we did before COVID struck. Everything was going well and we had a nice, relaxing time studying, and yeah. Nearing the end of the session, knowing she had recently moved house, I asked her if she was taking the train home, wanted to go home with her for company and to enjoy some more moments with her. She said she was going to take the bus, and my heart sank a little, and I decided to explain why I asked. Here was the F up. I wanted to say, oh, I just wanted to go home with you to chat a little more, since we couldn't talk much in the library. Instead, my mind messing up realizing how maybe obvious it was, I said I, stutter, wanted to ask you to like if you wanted me to accompany you home. It sounded so weird and I felt like a stalker when I said that. I couldn't really tell if she took it cool or not, but she stuttered a little too, not as much as me, and said that she could take the train with me too. She's as socially awkward as I am. Off to the train we went and we had a really good convo in the end. She's really wholesome, but I can't tell if she picked up the signs that I had a crush on her. I want to keep things secret, so here I am internally panicking that exchange caused me to let the cat out of the bag and make every conversation we have more awkward. I'm still panicking after so many hours. Too long didn't read. Wanted to ask my crush to go home with me after a study session but made it sound like I revealed that I had a crush on her, which is what I didn't want. Just continue with confidence. And it seems like she's willing to change plans to spend time with you, so I'd say there's a good chance she likes you back. I really hope so. Can't have relationships in high school, but that'll change if all goes well for me and her in 2 years. She obviously wants to spend time with you too, or she would not have said yes. And I understand that this wasn't the way you wanted to confess. But since she hasn't said anything about it, even if she suspects, you can always formally confess later. Best of luck to you and your dear friend. Maybe it will blossom into something more. Stay confident. You've got this. It's alright to stutter like that in that scenario. Besides, if she also stutters and made a decision to take the train with you, isn't that a good sign of a better relationship? You can always clear it up next time so you don't have to worry about it. You never know until you say something. Just tell her. Start with, I don't want to ruin our friendship, but I believe I have more than friendly feelings, and I was wondering if there was a chance you feel the same. I'm a girl, we aren't that difficult. Be sweet and polite, and the worst she can say is no. If she says no, just tell her you'd like to stay friends. No hard feelings. You asked to follow her home and she said yes. Doesn't sound like today I fucked up to me. Person shrugging, that's true, but what if she's thinking about how I blurted out those words and then, maybe I'm overthinking.